So this should be one of those reviews where I do have a better thumbnail for this video, but I'm going to be honest, I just don't. And that being said, we are going to be talking about the new Liam Neeson action film called The Marksman. This time around, we have Liam Neeson, and his house is going to be taken away by the government in approximately 90 days. And so with that being said, there's already this time clock ticking down to his ultimate doom, pretty much. And so to further this doomsday clock, what happens is he eventually runs into this mother and this boy who are trying to escape the border because the cartel is coming after them. And so from here, this is where all of the action begins and where what the actual story is going to be about. He has played a father figure before, obviously in the role of Taken. But now, it's not because they are related, it is because he feels like he has more of an obligation to do so. And that is because of the tragedy that the boy suffers. Now, I loved how this came to be. I will say, the film does struggle from having an action-packed cliche that just is there from beginning to end. And this is a list of what you'll see within this film. No spoilers given whatsoever. You have the main action star being Liam Neeson. You have the man's dog best friend. He has a dog. There is a traumatic experience / loss that Liam Neeson has also faced along with the boy. And then the film does the worst thing that I think really hit home for me as being a fault of its own. And that was that the bad guys are only portrayed as bad guys and nothing more. They are permanently where they are supposed to be because that's all they know, and that's it. That's the only information that we get. This is where the action really does come into play, and that is the most serious part of the film itself. Now the thing is, though, is that they try to replicate that with the cartel violence that is being shown, and they always are trying to match the tone because they go back and forth, and that's where we start to see the different perspectives of this film, and ultimately it becomes a road trip movie of good guy versus bad guy, good morals versus bad morals, and this is what's going to happen. Yeah. I will say, though, that because of this, in a way, this road trip is used as a coping mechanism for Liam Neeson because of everything that he just lost. And not over the course of all the years that we haven't seen who he has become, but who he's become now and what we know of what has happened to him from the start of the movie up until the actual conflict begins to start to unravel. And so that I loved, and it actually gives the chance for the boy, whose name is Miguel, and Miguel does get to finally feel what it's like to have his own father figure, because he doesn't have that from what he says in the movie. What I did love, though, is that there are some moments where the film does slow down. What I was confused about was how the movie played out in over a week time span. You go from Monday all the way up until Saturday, and you see every day what happens to them on their journey. And so I loved to get to have those breather moments, but they didn't necessarily last as long as I would like them to, because again, it is a road trip film, so they had to keep going from one location to the next. And so for me, it just immediately was about when do we get back into the action. Another complaint that I do have, and I think is a pretty reasonable one, is that the film didn't offer enough action to where it was a little bit underwhelming up until the end, of course, and I won't get into that because of spoilers, but I do think that they could have used their locations. I mean, they're out in the desert. They could have done, and on roads, but they could have, like highways and things like that, but they could have done more than just car chase sequences and like close combat shootouts, because that's really all that the action was. I will say I do love the fact that Liam Neeson is just someone that you can trust with guns in no matter what film he is in, no matter what role he is portraying. It's just something that has been with him since the start of his film career, and I love it, and I think it should continue for the rest of his film career until the day that he stops making movies. And with that being said, I do think that it is pretty realistic because all of this responsibility is he's going against everything that he knows from his past life with being in a military background fighting for the Marine Corps. And so he really does know what it's like to be a soldier, which is a recurring theme that comes up in the film. And he has to go against everything that he's been taught just to get this boy to safety and to finally become okay with what is happening to him and what the government is trying to do to ruin his life. I do love this as well about the film, and I know I keep going back and forth between the negatives and the positives, but that's just how this is going to go. And here we are. So, one of my favorite moments in this film is that the boy and Liam Neeson's character do become men. They truly have this formal bond now, and it's because of the time that they spent with each other. And to me, that is when their baggage, both of their baggage, even though they are extremely different, no longer become a competition. And that to me was a very, very adult conversation that I don't think either of them were really ready to understand or even know that they were going to have it. And finally, I will say the ending to me as well did leave a mark on me, pun intended. I actually just came up with that right now. But since I keep going with the joke, you probably think I have it written somewhere in my notes. But just roll with the punches, I guess. So either way, though, I do think that this film had a most mature ending, and it really made the underwhelming action all essential to the character's end goal and what happens to him at the end of the film. And I won't say what happens, but it is worth sticking around for the parts of the film that are lacking more so, which is really just the fact that everything is so surface level from an action movie standpoint and from a Liam Neeson action movie as well. He has done some good action films. He was in Winnows, The Grey, Non-Stop was even really good. And from there, you kind of wonder where this mixes into all those other films. And he was even great in the cameo in The Next 3 Days. So you know he could be serious in action films, and he is in this film. Is the rest of the film as serious, though? I'm not so sure. It kind of plays on both sides. And I think it was trying to be both as well. But by the end, it really did sit with me that what happened to Liam Neeson was inevitable, was fate, was what we've seen from his other films, but in a different conclusion, I will say. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give my rating. Is this an action film that I would recommend to anybody? Maybe not to everybody, but to a certain crowd that do like action films, or even some that don't, that may want to give a closer look as to what is really going on. I think they will definitely find some maturity within the film as well, and what the film is saying about violence and living a life where just something bad shit is always happening to you all the time, and you never really catch a break in life. So I think both kinds of crowds can find something to recommend as well to other people about this film. And I've seen all the low ratings, and I will say my rating as well, again, is out of 100. I will give 2 ratings, though, actually. I am on Letterboxd, and so I'm going to give my Letterboxd rating and my percentage out of 100 rating. Which, by the way, Austin Burke as well is a huge fan of mine, or at least, I love Austin Burke. I don't know him personally, but I've been watching all of his reviews and follow him on there as well, and so that was kind of inspired by him to do the 100% scale. Because in my old YouTube channels as well, I've never done that, so I just wanted to try something new. But I will say that I'm going to be giving it a 36% out of 100, and then on my Letterboxd review rating, I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. But again, that ending really should have bumped it up to a 3, so I was kind of stuck between the two halves, and there you go. That was my review for The Marksman. It again was my first 2021 film in the theater, so we finally did it, got that done. I do plan on still seeing The Little Things, so expect a review on that soon, and do check out my other reviews for The Dig, and for Outside the Wire, and for Locked Down. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.